that they're trying to seek to limit crossbow use to only certain parts of the bow season.
I never hear about the NDA going to an NRC meeting saying, okay,
quote me, 98% certain that our holistic DAT team will be giving this recommendation to the DNR.
And as we're trying to make changes in our own lives to better ourselves as people, most of the times we're fighting against our own traditions and our emotions.
If the AG's interpretation of deer was viewed as a species, the DNR would be able to recommend any type of buck regulation to the NRC.
And, it didn't work, so now we extend gun season. What?
How do you effectively get your message across to the NRC? Think about that. 7 people determine the laws and regulations for wildlife in Michigan.
Welcome back to the Everything Podcast. We appreciate you guys listening. This is number 2 with guest in-house.
Yeah.
We have a special guest here that we're excited to dive into conversations with. Our last podcast, if you guys haven't listened to that, was with Skip Sly. Drew a pretty decent amount of attention to some, I guess you would call them issues.
Technically, it's not going to be their last that they saw, but our last that just dropped. And so, are we jumping? Unless we're jumping this one up, just so you know.
We're going to jump this one.
Oh
up
wow,
to keep the
Mike, you're getting
rolling.
Oh, you're getting jumped up.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So joining us is
awesome.
Mike. Mike, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Kind of a quick summary of who you are, and I guess really the main rules of why we brought you in here to have this conversation.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. My name is Mike Ketelaar. I'm a high school English teacher in Kentwood Public Schools and the golf coach in Kentwood Public Schools. That's kind of what allows me to have hobbies. You got to make money to have this strange addiction that we have called deer hunting. But in terms of the deer world, I've been involved with QDMA and now NDA for over 20 years. Started off as a volunteer, and then I was the local branch president for the West Central branch, which is Kent County and Newaygo County. And then I just kind of blinked, and next thing you know, I'm the state president of Michigan NDA, still actually the branch president for the West Central branch. And just recently, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the DMI, and now the DNR's DAT. And I'm
DMI stands for
Deer Management Initiative. Yep.
Gotcha.
And so that was a focus advisory group that was kind of a brainchild of the NRC and the DNR. That was 2 years ago. And that kind of morphed into the DAT, the Deer Advisory Team, which is exclusively handled by the DNR now. And so I was fortunate enough to be elected by my peers to be the chair of the Lower Peninsula. So I've been extremely active in working with 20 other individuals on the Lower Peninsula DAT team, 10 of which are independents. The other 10 are stakeholders or presidents of different conservation groups in Michigan. And that's been a really eye-opening experience.
What type of stakeholders are involved?
So you've got SCI, Michigan Bow Hunters, MUCC, entities such as that.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess we're into that now. I got a lot of questions about that.
Yep.
So last year was it last year that it was the first time that was, because I remember filling out the application you could fill out online to sit down on that. And wasn't that was 2 years ago already?
That was about 2 years ago and maybe a couple of months. Yeah. So what I remember at that time was, so again, there's 20 seats on the Upper Peninsula and 20 seats on the Lower Peninsula. And then for each peninsula, 10 of those seats were for independents and 10 for stakeholder groups. And I was fortunate being the president of the Michigan National Deer Association as a respected partner with the DNR and an affluent group that a place was held. Yeah. And so I made the decision as the new president. I've been president coming on 3 years, that it was important for me to be the person in that role. But there were, 4,000 applicants for the independent roles.
Wow.
And there's been some turnover, but basically the core group from the DMI is still the group with the DAT. And what's going to be happening is Jordan Hoover is the Upper Peninsula chair, and him and I worked on our terms of reference for our team with the DNR, and there is going to be turnover. So there will be some opportunity down the road for other leaders to get in from different stakeholder groups
Yeah.
and or independents.
So what is the term length of that? Have they identified that?
Yeah, it's kind of complicated,
Sure.
but I'm trying to rack my brain on the terms of reference that
What?
were drafted.
Sorry, I mean, I just can't. Your orange hats like just vibrate.
It's awesome. Dean's,
It pops, yeah. God's great outdoors. You know what I'm saying?
Dean was in here last,
love it.
and
Yeah.
so I was like, I got to rep the hat
No,
for him. Dean.
That's the first time
I'm
I think I
liking it.
looked at you and you were like, "What?"
Yeah.
But that's what makes us. That's good.
No, I love it. Two-year term, but then what
Yeah.
we started realizing when we were drafting the terms of reference is when we were in the DMI process, we might have had 40 or 50 hours of guest speakers coming and talking about forestry, biology. We had biologists from different states, and so we were onboarded with tons of vital information to make sure we were all on the same page. And so what we realized is we didn't want to clean the slate and have everyone off a particular DAT team at one time. So we're kind of working on a staggered approach. So there's some veteran people that are there to onboard the new people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to address an elephant in the room right off the bat on that. Is originally I saw the would you call them rules or suggestions that got passed to the NRC saying these are like was it like 10 initiatives that like were presented to the NRC, and to my understanding not a single one of them actually got passed.
Yeah, so this is something that I deal with a lot is I'm not saying that people don't understand the system of how regulations are put in place, but I'm glad that you brought that up. And I know both of you know, but there's a confusion of how things happen. So our DAT team, we're an advisory team.
Yeah.
That is all we are. We as a team have conversations, hopefully get to a vote, and maybe during a cycle like this year for 2026, we have one regulation that we voted upon, and we're going to present that to the DNR. And the DNR can put it in their wildlife order, or they don't have to put it in there. And so really what I make an analogy is the DNR comes up with the menu. And they present that menu. That's the wildlife order. They present that menu to the NRC. The NRC can support a particular entree item. They can make an amendment to it, or they can say, nah, we want to do the chef special today on this particular thing. So you are correct. The last wildlife order had about a 90% fail rate, if you're looking at it that way, in terms of implementation. So our team, we simply give recommendations to the DNR. They can support it, they can be neutral, or they can not support it. It doesn't have to go into their wildlife order. The wildlife order is the menu given to the NRC that they vote on, but they can change out the mashed potatoes to a loaded baked potato. Or they can say, we don't like any of this, and they kind of take their own autonomy and they bring their own regulation forward.
For those that don't know, NRC, give us a little bit on the NRC.
Yeah, NRC, Natural Resource Commission. These are people that are appointed. They're termed, but they're appointed by the past governor or current governor, in this case, Governor Whitmer. And these are individuals, this is an unpaid role. They are not paid government employees.
Are you saying unpaid in quotes, or are they unpaid?
No, they're unpaid.
Okay.
They are unpaid. They do not collect a paycheck for this role.
Sure.
Their responsibility is to handle emails and phone calls from individuals like us, other Michiganders. 12 times a year, there is an NRC meeting. One of them is happening right now as we're doing this. And their goal, their objective is to sit there. It's a panel of 7 of them. 3 of them are Democrats. 3 are always Republicans. And there's always one, what's the word I'm looking for? Neutral, kind of bipartisan.
Would you say any of them are actual outdoorsmen?
Do you know them?
I know some of them. Yeah, I know some of them. Know some of them pretty well. Built some strong relationships with them. Yes, some of them are. Some of them fish. Some of them hunt. Some of them are extremely invested in this role that they're in. Others, due to maybe the stage of their life or their businesses or family or whatever the case is, they mean well. They all do, but some are definitely more involved and better educated, and they field phone calls and emails all the time. Specifically, Commissioner John Walters I don't know how he sleeps because he is so accessible. You can get in touch with him and he will return your phone call, your email, loves to hear everyone's input. But you see on social media, to your point, are these the best people? Are they the experts? Or are there other people that are more qualified? And I guess it's not my place to say. I'm not the one appointing them, but there is a lot of rumor mill and scuttlebutt on social media. We do not have the best players in those seats. And I think that's one thing Michigan hunters are a little bit frustrated about.
Yeah, I just see like little social media clips of the NRC meetings that, like you said, there's one taking place today that I wish that we could have made it to, but they get ridiculed right to their face in these meetings.
Yeah, and that's something really interesting. Todd Johnson, who's my head of advocacy and policy, who's down there right now, we often have this philosophical debate of, how do you effectively get your message across to the NRC? Well, we're all humans. If I'm trying to convince you to do something, Jay, am I going to ridicule you?
And it's probably not going to help.
No, it's not going to
Unless
help.
you're really good at that.
Yeah, maybe beat me over the head with a hammer or something.
But
that's your ridicule.
Michigan NDA, we do not find that as a viable tactic.
Yeah.
And also you've got your 5 minutes that you can sign up for in advance to speak to them, or you can do like an immediate 3-minute one, kind of on the fly. During a break, you can fill out a form to do that. And I often feel bad for commissioners because some people are talking to them and spewing nonsense to them, sharing data that is not real data, and blaming them. And I just don't think that's a positive, constructive way to go about it.
Sure.
They're trying their best. And I think that sitting in front of there and calling someone stupid and calling a moron, that is not how you're going to be a catalyst for change.
Yeah.
And they're humans also. They're not going to want to hear from you again if you're bad-mouthing them, even if some of the things you're saying are accurate. So it's a delicate balance there. One thing that we do with Michigan NDA is we've been trying not to speak at NRC meetings because sometimes it's showboating. It's an ego contest. It's people wanting to hear themselves speak. We like to do the work behind the scenes, calling those commissioners during the month, having email communications with them, working in that way, not having to sit there on a live stream and beat our chest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I see both sides of that. Like, one of my questions I plan on asking is, how come I never hear about the NDA going to an NRC meeting saying, okay, we actually have, we'll get into everything that the NDA does, but like we actually have this science-based results or opinions on whatever issues being addressed at the NRC meetings. I guess my question is like, why wouldn't the NRC kind of look at you like the NDA as like a reputable voice?
It's tough to answer that. I like to view us as the reputable voice. I think some key players in the DNR view us as the most credible and reputable source in Michigan, and a lot of the people on the NRC. We currently, with my leadership and Todd Johnson as our head of advocacy and policy, we're trying a new philosophy. Eric Schnell, my good friend, who was our past state president for 8 or 9 years, he attended every single meeting and spoke almost at every single meeting. And there's value in that, but NDA is always there. Michigan NDA is always at a meeting, and a lot of work happens during the breaks. Just because we're not talking for that 3 minutes on the MUCC live stream doesn't mean that we're not there working. We're doing the work behind the scenes. It's the 4 hours of phone calls and 10 emails during the month that we're doing. We're doing that communication behind the scenes. The NRC knows our stances. The DNR knows our stances. To your point, though, it makes me question, are we missing out on the opportunity for the general public to be reinforced with those concepts that what we stand by?
Yeah, and you think about like all these, some of these individuals that go to these NRC meetings, they have their opinions that they present to the NRC, and a lot of them, like you said, are not actual science-based opinions or facts. They're just saying, this is what I want. This is what's going to better me. I think Skip did a good job of that last week, saying the difference the decision making needs to be science based because it's too many hunters make it about what they want and how.
Well, it's all emotion and tradition.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're making all of a lot of decisions, and that's why I always say, like we were talking about with Skip, it was like this is how you bring it back to what we don't want to do. And as we're trying to make changes in our own lives to better ourselves as people, most of the times we're fighting against our own traditions and our own, and our emotions. This doesn't feel good. I want to do this. I don't want to do this bad habit anymore. And I know this is a better habit, but it's hard for me to get there. And it's like that's like coming from a dude that for the last 15 years has no social media presence. Don't go on there. Don't look at this stuff. But like when I gaze at it for like a second on somebody else's, it's the Wild West of information. And it's a war zone of craziness. And it's like, how do you even begin to unpack that in your own mind to believe what you should believe?
I mean, the way I envision it, I've gone to a few. I probably haven't done as many as I should for how much I care about this, but I've gone to a few NRC meetings. And like, if from the public standpoint, the NDA standing up and saying, I'm representing the NDA, and these are, like, I have no idea what the NDA actually promotes and thinks is the right moves for Michigan. So I think maybe, like, actually taking a stance in front of the public could, like, help some of this cause.
Could you share that with us today?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. And I'm marinating what you're saying. It's always a delicate balance of too much talking, not enough talking, and
doing.
And doing. And I'll be extremely honest and organic on this podcast right now. Is I also have to be careful because I'm the elected chair of the Lower Peninsula Deer Advisory Team, who happens to be the president of the Michigan National Deer Association. There are other people on the Lower Peninsula DAT team who were unaffiliated, and they joined into leadership with Michigan NDA. So one thing I struggle with also is not constantly bombarding people with the viewpoints and stances of NDA because I'm trying to be objective as a chair, a facilitator as a chair, even though the things that NDA is advocating for, they are correct. They're based in science. So to your point, what are we advocating for right now, Michigan NDA? I'm not trying to make you chuckle, but what does Michigan need? We need to increase antlerless harvest where regionally appropriate. We need to protect young bucks. We need to recruit more hunters, and we need to improve habitat and access to land. Period.
I would say that's on board with 80% of Michigan. So how I get that? That's what's so confusing to me is like everybody's on the same page for the most part. Again, everybody has their own opinion. Like,
how to get that done? They have different ways to getting that done.
APRs,
a lot of ways to skin
whatever.
a
cat. A lot of ways to skin it. But okay, how come none of that? How come the cat's not getting skinned?
I think it's because we are putting our personal interest ahead of the resource. Right now, Michigan hunters, and even stakeholders and leaders and everyone that's at the table, we're our own worst enemy. We are aligned 80, 90% on everything. We just have this emotional tie to how it needs to be done. You say APR and someone slaps you in the face. You say OBR and
I don't even know.
I saw like
what
that
is
keeps popping up too.
OBR? What is OBR?
OBR is a one buck rule.
Okay.
So currently, our DAT team, we had at our last meeting, we had a vote, and this year our DAT teams are holistic. So it's the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula together, and it's about 98% certain, again, quote me, 98% certain that our holistic DAT team will be giving this recommendation to the DNR. The combo tag becoming a buck and a doe, and we're trying to suspend the single buck tag during the next 3-year cycle. What that will do...
Spicy.
So,
You heard it here.
in the suspension
Wait a
of
second.
the single buck tag is necessary to protect funding for the DNR, if that makes sense.
Say that one more time.
So you can get a single buck tag. They're just concerned that if you made the combo tag a buck and a doe, people would just buy the single buck tag.
Got it.
And they would lose revenue from the combo purchase.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's it's also a little kick in the butt too. Like, hey, you have a doe tag, shoot a doe.
And that is the cultural shift that we're looking for. You look at it. I mean, I've got a tattoo right here.
If
Buck and a
you're
doe.
not watching this, he has a buck and a doe on his arm.
The NDA logo. What does that represent? 1-to-1 management, correct?
I was thinking Browning.
Browning. Well, yeah, or NDA. Yep. It's the old QDM logo that was created by Joe Hamilton in the '80s. But the whole premise is a balanced herd, balanced harvest ratios, and that's one thing that our team we're really stuck with is like it's important to harvest the right amount of antlerless deer. And if you've got that combo tag, being a buck and a doe, and your average hunter wants 1.4 to 1.5 to 1.6 deer per year, if one of them's a buck, I'm no mathematician, but what does the other percentage need to be? A doe. So that's what we're working on. There's a good chance that'll be one of our recommendations to the DNR.
And so when you were explaining the upper and then blower, you were saying conclusively all 40 of those people, or is it 20 and 20?
Yeah, 20 and 20 approximately. There was
Would
some
say that you potentially come to an agreement that that's the whole presentation for this year. And when does that take place?
We've got a couple more meetings, but it's likely that that'll be one of our recommendations. And I think if you take the voting metrics from the percentage that happened in the lower peninsula with the upper, it's in the upper 70 percentile of support for this concept. Now, there are some small barriers. The concept of suspending the single buck tag. Who has the authority to do that? Is it the DNR? Is it the NRC? I can tell you I was on the phone today, and they still haven't really come out with who would have the ability to do that.
They literally don't.
It's what I've learned in this deer advocacy world the last couple of years is there's I'm not going to say politics, but there's a lot of, well, I'm not really certain. There's an answer. I just don't think people want to find the answer right now.
And I think that, again, back to like what Skip said, it sounds like no one wants to be the reason for everybody else to get him. Like there has to be an adult in the room that says, this is the decision that's being made. And it sounds like from what you're saying, it's like, well, I don't know if it's his rule or his rule. I don't want to be the guy that pisses all these people off in Michigan. And
very, very well said. I would have to agree with that. And there's another layer. Those of us that are kind of in the trenches right now is currently the AG has an interpretation about the word deer.
What's AG?
Attorney General.
Got it. Just making sure.
And the Attorney General. And deer currently, the current interpretation is a deer must mean a buck or a doe.
Yeah.
And so that's one reason why legally we can't earn a second buck right now. We can't go... there's a lot of things like because really
legally can't earn a buck.
You have to offer 2 buck tags right now, is the interpretation of the AG.
Okay.
Because of
the word deer is being interpreted as has to mean buck and doe. So the combo tag has to be offering 2 bucks, and so that's something that we're navigating right now. Even this recommendation to make the combo tag a buck and a doe and suspending the single buck tag might not be accepted or kosher.
Because there's some language out there
that
confuses
there's
deer
some
versus
language.
Buck.
The word deer is being interpreted currently
Sounds
as
like
buck.
such an easy fix.
As buck.
Right.
Now, if you ask Commissioner Walters and some other people, the word deer to them, it's a species. It's not a particular sex or gender. Yes.
Well, that gets confusing because people are confused on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to add a layer of complexity to this, let's just say, for example, the NRC wanted to support and advocate for a 1 buck concept, whether through the creativity of our hypothetical recommendation of the combo tag being a buck and a doe and suspending the single buck tag. I've seen on social media people kicking around the idea of maybe the NRC will go with a super APR. So if they have to offer 2 buck tags in Michigan, well, here we go.
I've heard that.
The combo tag.
I'm excited to hear this.
The combo tag is a buck and a doe with the same APRs that are there. Obviously, Northwest 13 would be touched, same APRs that are on there. And then if you want to buy the single buck tag, it's going to be 20 points on one side.
Whoa.
Or 6. I heard this.
No, and it's what you're hearing is not. It's in people's minds.
Yeah.
It is in the mind of decision makers. And so we're in a place right now, and I'll just speak candidly, if the AG's interpretation of deer was viewed as a species, the DNR would be able to recommend any type of buck regulation to the NRC, and the NRC could vote or manipulate anything. Right now, it's a hang-up. That interpretation is having it so we can't do something like earn a second buck. Right now, we have to offer 2 buck tags according to that interpretation, unless we come up with a creative workaround, such as the super APR.
Can you imagine buying a buck tag that you were like, I can actually only shoot a buck if it has 20 points on one side?
No.
Well,
one
then,
I would buy it.
No one's going to buy it, and that's the point. Well, hey, we're offering 2 bucks.
But see, the foolishness of that is going to be like, I mean, it's just, it's
funny.
Insane.
I think it's
Oh,
funny.
we're gonna be. Think about what other states are gonna look. But
Well, dude, they're already looking at us.
yeah,
like,
I mean,
don't even.
But think about it. Let's say that gets proposed. Like on the day voting happens, and a commissioner comes forward and they're like, okay, well, we can't do this. This is what I propose. And all of a sudden 4 votes go through. That could be intuition. Like that could be what it is. I just wish the AG's interpretation was looking at deer as a species to give us more tools in our toolbox.
How does that get done?
That is above my pay grade.
Got it.
That is above my pay grade. I can speak that I know there's a lot of stakeholder groups. There's a lot of senators. There's a lot of people of influence asking a lot of questions of that office of why is this the interpretation? How can the interpretation change? What needs to happen to make that? Because right now, there's not enough tools at the disposal of the NRC to properly manage our herd. They're handcuffed.
Who's the current attorney general?
I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I do not know.
We got Google.
We got Google, yeah. I do not know.
Yeah, Google it.
So these are layers of complexity that I don't know if a lot of your Michigan hunters know.
Yeah.
And they just think it's the DNR's fault or the NRC's fault. Like what I've learned the last couple of years at the helm of Michigan NDA is how complex deer management is, but then how simple it is. All 3 of us know what needs to be done in Michigan.
Right. But then again, there's the other side of the argument where, like, I mean, you just look at comments from like our recent podcast. Like, there's some people that are laughing at people saying that there needs to be a change because they go out and they see a deer they kill a deer every year, and that they think that's awesome conservation. Nothing should change. They're happy.
Yep.
So I just want to reiterate that this is not the laws are not made to make people happy. The laws are made to do what's right for the resource.
If it was my way, if I wanted the laws, like I would just drive 160.
Yeah. I've seen you driving. That's scary.
Yeah. But, definitely. And we've gotten to an age in which personal preference is trumping what's best for the resource.
We grew up McDonald's mentality. We want it our way and our way now.
Yeah. And as to this point, I'll go on a little bit of a soapbox that you brought that up, is this immediate gratification in this blame game. Blame the DNR. Blame the NRC. They're not the ones pulling the trigger. They're not the one letting the arrow fly. Just because Michigan could become a $6 state, hypothetically, everybody, doesn't mean you have to go out there and shoot $6. Does the DNR have a responsibility to manage the resource? Yes. Does the NRC have the responsibility to put toward laws and regulations that make sense, that are science-based? Yes. However, we are the stewards of the land. We are the stewards of the resource. Let's stop playing the blame game and start taking responsibility for our own herd management and habitat management. And a lot of us are doing that, and we're all under 40 here. You can see the studies that come out is who's resistant against change in terms of Michigan deer and deer hunting. It's older individuals. that are stuck in that tradition, or I won't shoot a doe because the does do this and this fake value and all of that. But I do think we're at a precipice of a paradigm shift between individuals our age and younger. They understand herd management. They understand the basic principles of QDM. They want to improve their land. They want to harvest doe where regionally appropriate. I have to emphasize that because Michigan NDA, everyone thinks we just want every doe shot. Where regionally appropriate. And people want to shoot and pursue a nice, mature buck. What is wrong with that? You read articles. Mature bucks on the landscape helps herd health.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And that's the science that is there.
Well, that's how you keep a resource. You sustain a resource. It's
Precisely.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a well-balanced resource, and so then you can maintain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're holding on your. But who's the? What is it? The.
Dana Nessel.
I'm sure you said that perfectly.
No, I mean, it's probably something that most people would know how to say. So, like, that's where it's like, it's embarrassing for me. So, Nessel. Seems like a nice gal.
Yeah.
Very good picture.
Probably an amazing individual. But that just goes to show you, not to get patriotic here, is the importance of voting. Mm-hmm. You know, you even see on social media that who we elect in office is very, very important. Even some of our senators in Michigan, they've been extremely powerful and influential on behalf of us hunters.
Sure.
And people don't know that. So it's sad. It's just the world we live in, but there's so many moving parts and complexity, and the way we vote does matter.
So that leads me to kind of going back a little bit, but like when you talk about the NDA going to every single NRC meeting.
Yep.
So realistically, the DNR doesn't have a true say. They pass it over to the NRC.
Yes.
Who then apparently don't know what laws they can change and whatever. But so the people going to the NRC meetings and speaking in front of the NRC board, are they truly being listened to? And do they actually have a chance to, I would say, make a change?
Yeah, there's been instances of it. If you look at the Upper Peninsula last year and their DMI, they broke a 10 or 11 year streak that doe with a bow was not legal. And that was an example of success that they did. Really,
you could not shoot a doe with a
bow.
No.
Yes,
Did not know
in
that.
the UP, yeah.
and
But with the
that
gun
was
you could.
No, you couldn't kill donkeys up there.
yeah. And in the mindset there, and so that's just one example of a success from the DMI and the DAT with the leadership of Jordan Hoover. And there's people that are not happy. A lot of them are older individuals, and they well, there's no deer up here to shoot. Well, you still have to have a balanced herd, even if it's under carrying capacity. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys understand that. But then they don't want to give away their 2 buck tags. So there's no deer to kill.
But
you
I
can't
want my
kill
2
doe.
bucks.
But I want my 2 bucks, and Cake's Bullwinkle comes out after I shoot a scrub basket deer. The logic makes no sense to me. But do I think that they listen, to get to your point? I do. I have conversations with commissioners on the phone, and I know that they do listen to what other people say, because sometimes they'll reach out to me as a soundboard and be like, hey, I was talking with so-and-so, and they presented this data and this statistic or this study to me. What do you think? What does NDA think about that? And so that checks and balance kind of happens there a little bit. But I'll tell you one thing. If you go there and you say the same message every single time, they do drown you out.
Yeah.
They do drown
Because they
you
are,
out.
at the end of the day, are a person you continually get yelled at. And
Well, especially if you're crazy, like Mike was saying at the beginning, if you're loud and just yelling at somebody, like, I'm not going to listen to you no matter what. You know what I mean? You can drip water on my head eventually you might give in. I think there's actually a Bible verse about that, where they go before the king and then eventually he gives in but that's neither here nor there. But what I'm saying is that I could totally see where it's just like, okay, you've beated that drum 1,000 times. We don't even know, like, if I believe what you're saying is true. But if what you're saying is true, and the AG doesn't even know what deer or buck is, and we're hung up there, I would say the throughput needs to be fixed there. Otherwise, nothing else is going to be fixed.
And that just shows how the system is imperfect. You know what I mean? You just the single interpretation of a word deer allows or disallows the advocacy for certain management tactics that could be extremely effective for the resource.
Yeah.
And then when you're asking people, well, why is that the interpretation, or how does that interpretation change, and no one really knows the answer, that's a little scary. That makes you question things.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult to get a concrete answer? I think it goes back to what you said. No one wants to be the adult in the room to make the bad decisions. You guys both know Deer Wars, correct?
No.
The book written about Pennsylvania. Okay, so there's a book written. The name's going to elude me. Can you look it up real quick of who authored that?
Deer Wars.
Deer Wars. Yep. It was about a leader biologist in Pennsylvania who went there and advocated for APRs. I'll just give you the high-level version. His life was threatened. People wanted to kill him. Pennsylvania has APRs now, and he is enshrined as almost a demigod because of the battle that he went through to, is it Gary?
I guess I'm not that good at Google.
Okay, well...
The last one took me longer.
It did, yeah. But just that thing. Who's going to be the bold?
Bob Fry.
Who's going to be? What was it about Gary? Who is it about though? Gary.
Who's it about?
Yeah, Deer Wars. Gary Alt. I should be better than this audience.
So in
Sorry.
Google, you type in what is Deer Wars? Who is Deer Wars about?
Yeah.
I'm working.
Yeah. Okay.
You're doing it on the spot. You're fat thumbing it.
But and like that example there is he knew what was needed, had a management tactic that was going to be useful for the herd, and people did not want that change. He received death threats. Now, if you talk to people in Pennsylvania, they're happy. How dare you take away this thing? I think we need bold action. And there's also something that I've seen in the last few years, and you started off this chat with that, is, well, the NRC was given a menu of 10 or 11 things last year, and a lot of them weren't put forth. Some of the members of the NRC aren't necessarily satisfied with the options that they're being given. And so some people on the NRC, they think that they need to take more autonomy and more control and be that catalyst for change, even though it might not be something the DNR advocated for or recommended in their wildlife order. Change is hard. We know that. Growth is hard. Changing mindsets is difficult. But do we want to continue being the laughingstock in the Midwest?
Right.
Do we truly care about the resource?
I've never heard of a single person buying an out-of-state tag in Michigan. Like literally,
I got one guy.
Okay,
I got
like,
two.
Yeah.
Two.
Well, that's because they were hunting with you, and then
No, their tradition. They just have camps up there and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and they.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yes, but like overall, like I don't know of a serious whitetail hunter ever saying I'm going to Michigan because I'm going to go hunting and I can't wait to shoot a big buck.
No.
And
Never been said.
no, yeah. Yeah.
It's never been said. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about my the lease I had in Iowa and thinking about the neighbors. They weren't like, hey, man, how do I get a lease in Michigan?
Yeah. Now,
You know what I
one
mean?
of them.
No, it's not happening.
And the thing is we were just at ATA, and every single guy goes around, walking around those booths, they go, y'all are from Michigan. Everybody's from Michigan. I go, you know why?
Yeah.
Because hunting's really hard in Michigan, and we're all trying to figure out products and things to make our hunting experience better there.
Yeah.
Because we're all trying to do something to enhance that.
To better it.
Well,
to
and
better
it's what you and I were talking about when we were looking at some of your mounts over there. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I've worked really hard my last 3 deer in Michigan with a bow have been 4.5. And you and I were talking about that. Yours this year, that's one of the top deer in a 3 to 4 mile area.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment, and something I'm proud of. I know you are, but it takes a lot of work
To get that done.
And to segue real quick, one thing I joke around with some people in the DNR is just because you buy a tag doesn't mean that you're supposed to be guaranteed a deer. Mm-hmm. And I think we also have a lot of hunters, going back to that immediate gratification, that McDonald's concept is they don't want to put the time in anymore. They don't want to improve their property. They want to go out to that same spot, and they want the same predicted movement, and things are going to change. You cannot catch fish in a bathtub. You know what I mean? I don't care how nice your equipment is and all this. So you've got people out there that are complaining, well, there's no deer, there's no deer, there's no deer. Think about this. If you were talking to a duck hunter and they're like, yeah, I've got some duck hunting spots in Kent County, but it's not very good, and they weren't having success, what would you tell them to do?
Go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else. Oh, have you been to Saginaw Bay? No, I haven't. But if you tell a deer hunter that, you're rude. You're mean. Duck hunters will laugh at each other if they're not successful because you go where the ducks are. Just because you buy a tag doesn't mean that the resource is going to be there for you. And that's what a lot of Michiganders expect.
Well, and to that point is that you've seen a lot of serious hunters over the years. They go where the deer are, and that means they leave the state.
They leave
the state. Unfortunately, we have no one coming into this state
Yeah.
to want to do that. Because my dream, it would be that people say, I'm going to go to southern Michigan. I'm going to go back up to the UP and find myself a slammer up there, because it's the same thing with northern Wisconsin has. You know, that landscape is the same as the UP, and then we have lower down
I'd love
here.
to bring the UP back.
Oh, dude,
Like that should be a hashtag.
dude, like
bring
one of
the UP back.
my favorite bucks. Like there's like you can get rid of all of the deer that I have. Like I don't have booners, I don't have giant deer. Like I have Michigan decent deer, but my favorite buck, hands down, is my UP buck. Like I killed a 120 18-inch UP deer, but like
that's a booner. That's a big deal.
I love that deer.
Yeah. And it's also what you're looking for. Like sometimes, and I've got a lot of buddies, obviously, guys my age that are involved with NDA in Michigan and our local branch, and they want to desperately stay in Michigan. They're buying land.
My wife would love it.
They're improving land. They're investing money in Michigan, but they know the reality. There might only be one mature buck on the landscape in my area. And so they put $7,000 of food plots and improvements in the off season, and then October 1, Jimmy down the road shoots that 140 class 4-year-old, and they're sitting there now going, "Well, now what? I'm done." Yeah, they shoot it. They manage. They shoot a few doe. Now, if you're in other states, it's that 140's down, but there's that one. There's that 160. There's 4 or 5 other mature deer on the landscape, and it keeps you in the game. It keeps you excited. People think harvesting mature deer is all about inches and the antlers. We've all been blessed, I believe, to interact with a mature Michigan buck.
Man killed a 5-year-old this year.
They act different.
Yeah.
They move different. They think different. The accomplishment that you feel doing that is amazing. How are we being selfish? We're passing up everything younger for the pursuit for that rare animal because we want to interact with it.
But I in some of Michigan's defense, though, I truly think that people haven't had that opportunity in Michigan to have that interaction with a mature animal. Yeah. Whether you don't own land, because we all know access is getting harder in every single state. So some people haven't been blessed with the opportunity. Like it was up until 2 or 3 years ago on my father's property, there was never a mature deer. I hunted that thing from sunup to sundown for 20 some years, never a mature deer. The last 3 years, there has been a mature deer in the area. And I can tell you that chess match of trying to figure that one deer out is something very, very special. But again, to my point, like not a lot of people have had that experience. So like, I think that's where a lot of misconception comes when people say, you guys are just hunting inches. I just want to go out and shoot a buck, blah, blah, blah. And it truly, part of that, some people, like, if you want your one buck, great. If that's what we talked to a guest who said, celebrate what's being, how do you phrase it? Celebrate the celebration. Like when someone's happy with their deer,
celebrate their success. Yeah. Like, go have fun with
them.
Not
everybody has to be pursuing that 5-year-old deer.
No,
That's not what we're advocating for.
No one is. And that's,
But for the more, I want to call it a more diehard hunter, because I know a lot of diehard hunters that don't pursue the 5-year-olds. for the guy who does want to pursue the 5-year-old, the reason it is so exhilarating and stuff is because it's an achievement for that deer to not only make it that age, but it's also a reflection on we're doing something right and we're sustaining this resource to meet its capabilities.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's evidence that the herd is actually well balanced if there's a plethora or an abundance of that age structure of deer.
Yes.
You know, to actually let a deer run its course, because even through the gauntlet of the Orange Army in Michigan and all that kind of stuff that we have here, occasionally, you know, I was telling you the story of LT9 buck I chased forever. He was 7.5. The only reason he got to 7.5 is because he took not one but two 30-06 rounds to the top of the spine. So he was just a warrior. He was just a beast. You know, at 5.5, you know, so I say that because it's like, as more of those are in the landscape, how much more healthy the herd is.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of a guy going, I'm going to shoot this donkey out here, because this doe out here, because, you know, I got the tag, it came with it. I might as well get some meat in the freezer. And it's just all in all, the mental game, you know, Lee knows, I mean, everyone knows, I believe in the spiritual warfare, and I believe that, you know, this war is fought in our minds. And so, like, you just see the psychological effect of just having 2 buck tags in your pocket, what that does when a smaller buck walks by and you can shoot it and still keep hunting, right?
Yeah. I mentored a hunter this year. He has a prosthetic leg, and he's never shot a deer. He's in his mid-30s, and I took him out to one of my leases in Ada with a crossbow, and he was able to harvest a deer, year-and-a-half buck. I'll be completely transparent. Yeah. I allowed it. He's never shot one. He's not very mobile. And when we get up to the deer, and I'm like, hey, take out your tags, and he goes, do I use the little buck tag or the big buck tag? And I'm like, that just spoke volumes.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like a mulligan on the first hole on Saturday morning. That's what that
Which
tag is.
I do need
it's
that.
A,
I need
yeah,
to keep
well,
that.
yeah.
Come on, the breakfast ball.
yeah, breakfast ball.
You're going to take that away from me,
Yeah.
too?
I need this.
Well, and you know, talking about those different levels, and I have an analogy. I don't know if it's good or not, or a metaphor. I'm the English teacher. I should know the difference. But it's so looking at golf. Okay,
Yeah.
Golf courses have different tees.
Yeah.
Senior tees, women's tees, whites, sometimes blues, the tips. So you can challenge yourself on that same landscape.
Yep.
You go skiing, Bunny Hill. You've got blues, you've got blacks, double black diamonds, those sorts of things. Deer hunting in Michigan, be it good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't allow, because the resource is not balanced. It's not a healthy quality herd. Mm-hmm. It doesn't allow some hunters to be able to challenge themselves and reach their goals and aspirations on that landscape. Mm-hmm. So they have to leave. If you want to become a professional skier, do you go up to Crystal Mountain in Michigan and that's where you train? No, you're going to go out west. And so I think that's something to keep in mind. I think people, it's not the inches. It's I want to be here. I want to see a healthy herd.
Sure.
I want.
But would you want Michigan, if you could have that ski hill on it, if Michigan had out west mountains on it? We would want that here, right?
Yeah, totally.
And we have the ag to cover ratios. We have
100%.
the landscape that will produce giant white-tailed deer and a healthy herd. And those numbers would get down to a place where the auto people would be happy as well, because does would be shot and they wouldn't be getting hit by cars.
And disease prevalency rates would go down. There's so many things that are connected there, you know. And, you know, the one thing, like going back to that number, the average hunter in Michigan wants 1.4 or 1.5, 1.6 deer. I don't know if we can, in areas of high density, I don't know if we can manage our way out of those. Because that's one thing, that's why you see these articles, people are getting mad about sharpshooters or, you know, doing this sort of thing. Well, if the hunters aren't going to do it, we're kind of to blame. If we're not going to go out there and be the ones to do it, we can't complain them when, unfortunately, other resources and tools come in to manage what we chose not to manage. I know that's hard for hunters to hear. Well, we chose not to manage it.
I think it's great that you brought that up again for the second time in this podcast, this conversation, is because at the end of the day, what it boils down to is the hunters making their decision. They're the ones in the field. They're the ones pulling the trigger. Just because there are 2 buck tags in your pocket does not mean you have to shoot a second buck. just it's if like let's imagine some absurd law got passed that you could go out and
Shoot deer at night.
Shoot deer at night. Ethically, that's not right or shouldn't be done. But the person,
guys do it though?
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect analogy of like drones get a lot of like people bash drone technology. And I get where they're coming from, but the technology is not a reflection. What's being done is not a reflection on the technology. It's a reflection on the person using the technology for harm. So it's like
100%. We had a staff meeting Monday about AI. Obviously, I'm a teacher in AI, and Kentwood Public Schools, we are trying to figure out a way to embrace AI, teach kids how to use it as a positive tool, much like cell phones and electronics. It's not the electronics' fault. The technology's fault. It's the responsibility and the use of it. Drones. I was just having a conversation with someone about that,
a little of that
the other day.
Are we passing that this year? Just a little deer recovery, please, in Michigan.
I'm not hiding anything. I do not have a pulse on that. The chessboard's changing daily, but I find use in drones. I know co-op leaders and guys that I know that they'll hire to figure out their deer per square mile, and I like it
management purposes.
I like it for management purposes.
Yes.
That is amazing. One thing, talking about deer co-ops, I'm the president of a few co-ops, and Michigan NDA is huge behind deer cooperatives. Anna Mitterling, who she started an LLC, and she's kind of like our co-op coordinator that Michigan NDA is funding to help these co-ops develop. And that information's crucial. I've got a co-op in Ada, and we do an observation. I can't use the word census, but an observation every September. And we have a good grasp of how many deer we have per square mile, and how many doe, how many buck, age class, things like that. That information allows us to set management goals. We got wiped out with EHD 2 years ago. I'm talking, we had a 97% herd loss in Ada in the area I hunt. And we all decided we're not going to shoot any deer. We did not shoot a deer last year. Now, before that, we were trying to shoot 20, 25 doe in a square mile area.
Wow.
That information is important. Personally, I don't have a stance for or against using drones for recovery, but I think it's extremely ethical.
Yeah.
It's extremely
It doesn't even
ethical.
seem like a conversation to me, because it's like, I shot a deer. In the Michigan laws, it says do everything in your power to recover that deer.
Yep.
It's the most uninvasive approach to finding a either killed or wounded animal.
Yeah.
Like, yes, let's say it is wounded. Okay, now you get to leave that animal alone, let it do its thing, let it recover. There's no added pressure to it. Like, I think that we could. There's no point to going into that conversation, because.
Yeah, it's what was I talking? Saw the other day the drone dash. You see that the big drones in some states where they're piloting them going and dumping corn.
Oh, drone deer recovery. Yeah, that's aggressive.
That's a really interesting concept.
Well,
But,
again, I stand up for him in the fact of, do not blame the technology. It's not because, like, don't hate drones because somebody is doing this. He's apparently just on it. I'll call it out as it is. He's apparently uneducated, but corn piles what they can do to a deer herd and the health of that.
Yeah, I was just more making the comment of that's interesting use of that technology.
It is. I'm totally. I don't think it's like. Again, at the end of the day, it's no different than somebody piling 6 bags of corn in their side by side and driving out and dumping it. But I'm just like not big on the corn piles. So which kind of leads me to, do you know where the state is at in baiting bans or rules or regulations being looked at? I think that was a topic brought up today, right?
Yeah, I think it was a topic brought up in the slideshow by the DNR. I wasn't able to watch things today because I was in the classroom teaching, but I always get a play-by-play of what's happening. Topic that came up, what do I know and what do I think about this right now? I think my gut tells me, this is my gut, I have
read it
no
in your
data.
eyes.
This is my gut tells me It would not shock me if baiting became legalized in non-TB and non-CWD counties.
How many counties? Do you know how many counties in Michigan are CWD or T?
It changed. So I like
flips,
if we like 1 year it was over here, 1 year it was over here, 1 year it was over here.
I'm looking at the map in my head. TB is mostly northern Michigan, below the bridge, northeast. I would say there's still probably 20 counties, don't quote me, that do not have disease.
Okay.
So there are areas in which baiting could be, and that's just my gut
That's pretty
feeling.
small, though, like 20 counties. That's not that much.
What do we have, 83 counties or something like that? But
Google.
I'm not going to have you
you're
Google
the
it.
teacher.
Yeah,
because I'm a professional
Yeah,
Googler.
professional Google, yeah, no.
Did you ever find the answer for the... You gave up, didn't
I
you?
gave up.
It's fine, yeah.
Years ago.
Well, the
Like,
whole
are you kidding
the
me?
whole point is with the deer wars is bold action comes with repercussion, and we need
somebody bold enough
bold,
to do it. Yeah.
somebody bold to do it, and ultimately, it's people need to remember it's 7 votes. Those individuals appointed by the governor, 3 of which go as Democratic Party, 3 are Republicans, and 1 is in the middle, neutral. That is how regulations happen. And think about that. 7 people determine
Well, how many
the
deer
laws
were
and
tagged?
regulations for wildlife
wild.
in Michigan.
I don't think everybody ever like laid it out that clear. So thank you, Mike, for doing that, because that's a big deal. That's to understand that and what's really going on there, and to you answered the question, but at the same time, I could tell, you're like, yeah, one guy fishes, one guy hunts, you know what I mean? And like, these people.
Yeah.
And so it's
some
like,
have backgrounds of academia
Yeah.
in them, but they're all phenomenal people.
yeah, they're
Now
serving.
are to us that live and breathe this every day. Do I think we could sit on a Jeopardy show, the 3 of us, and be asked questions, and we're competing against some
Captain Google over here.
I was going to say,
yeah.
he doesn't know how to use
but
his phone.
the point is, you would think those individuals, and again, they're appointed, they're not paid, they're doing their best. You would think they are the end of the road. They are the PhD individual that everyone would be like, yeah, that person knows everything. You know what I mean? The Kip Adams of the world. You know what I mean? The people that everyone looks to, like, they know what's going on. And unfortunately, that is not the makeup that is there right now. Yeah, they fish and they hunt and they're educated. Some of them do a lot of research, a lot of phone calls and trying to figure things out. But ultimately, 7 votes. You need 4 out of 7 to make something happen. And if you think about that, I'm glad you made that point. I appreciate that. I don't think people really view it that way. When you're at the NRC meeting and you see, normally there's someone from the Attorney General's office, and you have 7 commissioners, and then you have Director Scott Bowen of the DNR, and that's who you're looking at when you're speaking. 7 of those NRC members right there, their vote matters. That is how change happens.
Stop yelling at them.
Stop yelling at them. Stop going there and saying the exact same thing.
Just come with science-based answer, or
Yeah.
That would be
Well,
great.
it's
So on that topic, what would you suggest to those folks that care deeply, because they do, because I appreciate the people that are willing to come out and drive, do the
Agreed.
work.
You-
I know people
you-
driving that drove there this morning.
So
yeah,
what,
you need to use your voice. Yes.
so what do you recommend from your vantage point? What's the best way for somebody to help out and assist?
I think quality, not quantity, messaging to the NRC is important. I think some people, and this is well intentioned, and your voice does matter. But I've seen so many times they'll drive the 3 hours to go down there, take a PTO day, and they'll do their 5 minutes, and then just be disgusted that what they brought to the table, that change did not come into fruition. Change does not happen overnight. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to have communication behind the scenes. Just because you can't drive there and speak doesn't mean that you can't email or get their phone numbers and things like that. join, not even join, like this isn't a plug for Michigan NDA. I never push membership, but get involved with a group or entity that has the means and resources and the players at the table to influence change. Communicate with the DNR, communicate with the people on the DAT teams, communicate with local branch leaders for Michigan NDA and things of that nature. There is no magic pill of how you make this happen. I think everyone has a role to play, but my piece of advice is quality, not quantity. And when you get there, say something intelligible that is backed by science and data and not personal preference. And don't yell at them and call them stupid.
That's when Uncle Ted comes in the house.
Yeah.
So I just want, I'll touch on, like, I agree with everything you say. I will, again, play devil's advocate here.
No
and
problem.
like when I, from the outside of me looking at the NDA, all the other organizations in Michigan, bow hunters, like I never actually, I don't see them say, like trying, like, again, you alliterated to earlier, like you're doing a lot of behind the scenes work. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people aren't seeing these organizations in the front doing the work.
Okay. Yep. I'll answer that, but then also kind of bring things from a higher level. So NDA in general, we have several pillars. One of the 5 is advocacy and policy. And with my leadership in Michigan NDA, I want to make sure we have a balanced approach. So advocacy and policy, you've got education, you've got R3, you have habitat improvement. So we've got these 5 pillars. And I don't want to be known as an organization that all we do is advocacy and policy. That's not a well-balanced approach. It's not a well-balanced diet. We do so much in those other facets. And in the past, I think we were saturated too much in the advocacy and policy. Also, I don't think people want to hear from the same entity all of the time. But you really do have me thinking from a devil's advocate lens, maybe myself and my team, we need to engage more like I am right now. Maybe I need to start utilizing social media more and putting out our views and our stances. That's a great point, and I'm going to reflect upon that.
I look at Dr. James Carroll. He seems to be pretty involved on social media as far as his voice in Michigan laws and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But whether he's right or wrong, I think the general public, like, let's say he was wrong on some of the things that he was pushing, but from the outside, it looks like he's trying to make a difference. So people are going to gravitate towards that, follow his example, listen to what he's saying, and then they're going to replicate what he's saying.
Yep.
So just like that, again, playing devil's advocate of like me looking at the NDA saying like, I've never heard a voice pushing for what I believe in or showing me the science of like why this should be this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, and you're really making me reflect on this but then I also flip it and go, okay, I was on the DMI, I'm on the DAT, I'm in constant communication with the NRC, with the DNR, with senators, people of real influence. Mm-hmm. Spewing things on social media.
Oh,
are you really doing anything?
100% agree with that.
And if you're someone that's just going to drink Kool-Aid, an unexamined life is not worth living. Just because someone says something on social media, you should be your own research and fact checking on that. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest. And that's not my personality to be on social media screaming from the rooftops. I like to, with our team, put our nose down and do the work. But I appreciate the devil's advocate challenge, and I'm going to really reflect on that because maybe it's time for a change. Maybe I need to get out the forefront and be a little more vocal. Because the cool thing about being involved with the NDA, and again, I'm a volunteer. It's an unpaid role. Is we don't unpaid. We do not need. we don't have to make up stances. We don't have to make up science. Our national entity, they've got partnerships with universities and biologists all over. We're given the Deer Bible. And when new things come up, they vet them, they put them through studies and all this. And so I don't need to fabricate things. Where other organizations, they don't have that soundboard. They don't have the backing to be given that science in those stances. And so that's also a dangerous slippery slope, because then you can start saying, okay, I'm the president of this in Michigan, and I'm just going to start perpetuating things that fit my personal preference.
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting is most people in Michigan who are extremely passionate, they adhere to QDM, quality deer management concepts. And that's what we
see, like
advocate for.
the thing is like at the end of the day, if I really wanted it my way, I mean, I'd shoot $6. I'd have $10. I'd have unlimited bucks. Like when we really, really unpack it, if it's like what Jay doesn't want a $1 state. He likes shooting $2 in his state, but I know that going to a $1 state to help manage the resource is better. So I'm saying, like, I think it's crucial to hear some people say that this isn't what I want. Like, it's not like, joy, I get
biologically necessary.
Better. It's better for the whole thing. It's like, I would prefer, like, I have a farm in Kentucky. The fact that it's a $1 state makes me want to question that every once in a while. But I know the benefits that they've seen down there and the deer quality that has increased tremendously, where everybody now calls it the sleeper state and all that stuff because it's growing like crazy and all that fun stuff. But it's like, why don't we want that in Michigan? And it's not because I want to kill more deer. I always want to be hunting. I would love it if we could deer hunt all year long. But it's not. It's not realistic. It's not right. But let's do what's right for them.
But even if you were, you have property in Michigan and other states, the property that we're at right now, would you want $10 taken out of your herd next year? No. Because the next 2 or 3 years. I hope right now that antlerless deer being harvested is in the drop,
There's
right? You know what I mean?
Somebody behind
Come
this
on.
wall.
PTSD.
Yeah,
PTSD.
like, why you got to make me twitch right now?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be a good introduce a new hunter
No,
at the
I think
same
that's
time,
amazing.
getting some doe harvest still, because we do have this extended season, and so with archery equipment, we can actually still shoot a buck in this county.
So we're going to recap this for everybody listening. Jay has sent a new hunter. This
New-ish.
is newish. He has been mentored a little bit. He's basically on the other side of the wall from us in a blind right now hunting.
Wait, did you just hear a mat?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be
It'll be fine. He's only going to shoot like probably the oldest deer that just shed yesterday.
Yeah. As long as we find the sheds.
We're good. But
So I loved this conversation. So to kind of quick recap this initial part of this conversation, you're saying a 98% chance that they will be looking at a $1 state for next year. Did I hear that correctly?
no.
Dang it.
You didn't hear
I
that
don't.
correctly.
You did not hear that correctly, and it's incumbent upon me to.
There's a 98% chance.
I feel like the Google guy should answer this question for you.
Here's what I said to just make sure we're on the same page. We have maybe 1 or 2 DAT meetings left before the books close, and we need to give our recommendations to the DNR.
When do the books close?
I hate answering that. It's going to be early March.
Okay.
So
it's soon.
So basically, we have our January meeting next week. We might have a February one to be determined. I'm not certain.
What is that timeline of March? Like, what are you getting that to them?
So
for?
we get our recommendations to the DNR.
Yeah.
And then internally, they put together the menu, the wildlife order.
You're right.
Yep.
And
That's what then goes to the NRC. Yep, they have a deadline.
Yeah, and
they have a
that's what I was
deadline, and then I believe, don't quote me, general public, I think then the NRC has a minimum of 30 days to look at that wildlife order. And when will their vote be? Sometimes votes are pushed back from one meeting to another for various reasons.
I feel like we need a Jeff Sturgis and get the whiteboard so we can track this along.
Track it all out. Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Keep going. The rule book doesn't come out like this year. It came out like right before deer season, right? So
yeah. Well, and I'll tell you one thing Michigan NDA is advocating for, and we just did at a legislative breakfast, is doing away with the hard copy rule book. It is over $1 million cost that only 7 or 8% of the general public use. Why can't it be electronic?
Know there was still a hard copy.
Some places, yeah.
Like in Woods and Water magazine.
No,
Dunham.
Dunham's.
I mean, dude, I am the 7%er.
Because that's
you bought
remember
one?
how good
Yeah.
I am at Google?
Because
I
that's
didn't buy one. They gave
that's
it to
that's
you
one
with
thing
the
that
tag.
stresses out the department is they have a deadline
They
of
give
when.
it to you when you get a tag.
Yeah, you can
got
still
one.
get the brick and mortar one. Well, you don't buy tags, is what you're telling us, or you don't shoot deer. So I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's hands down.
both.
But because I'm so good at Google, I have to have the hard copy somewhere, and I review it thoroughly annually. It's
So-
a nice
I just
read.
see I get an email saying the new rules and regulations are come out, and then I quick scan through it.
It's always going to be electronically first, like it was a couple of years. Usually, it's July is when you.
I thought it was it was pushing season this year.
electronically, but that's the thing. And if they get away from having to do the printed, it saves the DNR money, and all of a sudden things are electronic, and it frees them up to not have that stress of production of print. You know what I mean? But going back to
go through the flow chart.
The really important question
Yeah.
is there's a 98% chance. So I'm saying there's a 98% chance our DAT team, Deer Advisory Team, for both peninsulas is going to, Jordan Hoover and I are going to put together a formal recommendation on behalf of our DAT team to go to the DNR that is advocating for the combo tag being a buck and a doe with the suspension of the single buck tag for the next 3-year cycle. When Jordan and I give that recommendation to the DNR, they might come back and go, "Hey, you got to tweak some words here for legality things. It's not changing what it is, and then the NRC will know what our recommendations were." Why am I saying 98%? Because I don't count my chickens before they hatch. Yeah. There is a possibility, there are 2% possibility some weird tomfoolery happens amongst our team, and it gets completely sabotaged. However, would it shock me that the regulation for this next upcoming season involved Michigan hunters only being able to harvest one buck? It would not shock me at all. I don't know how that cat is going to get skinned, but it would not shock me. I think there's too much pressure.
A lot of pressure.
There's too much pressure. And not even that, the science and the need is there.
When you talk about science, where is the I'm sorry, is it the DAT?
DAT.
DAT.
Yep.
Where's the DAT and or the NDA getting the science from? Where does that come from?
So with the DAT team, we were given, during the DMI process, the DNR put together, we had experts and specialists from every walk of life in terms of deer management. Recently, we had Mike Tonk, who is the old biologist for Ohio, that was on with us. And obviously, Ohio is a one-buck state. And that was some of the data that was given to us from him is it is what needed. Now, some people you see on social media, well, why do we need only one buck? Why not have two? Only, depending on the year, only 3 to 8% of people harvest a second buck.
Mental.
Yeah.
Mental, cultural shift. If you can only purchase a combo tag that is a buck and a doe, mentally you're going to go, okay, I harvest a buck, I have that doe tag that is there. Is that going to be the magic pill and panacea for our ills in Michigan? No. It's one of the levers. There are multiple things that need to happen in Michigan to really move the needle. Mm-hmm. If we go to a one-buck state, is it going to fix everything? No. Will it slowly and gradually increase antlers harvest? Yes. Will people be holding out for a better deer? Yeah. Could it move age classes up? Yes, it could. So that's really the science and data that is there. The one thing also that is cool with having Brent Rudolph on, who's the new deer, moose, and elk specialist who took over for Chad Stewart. Chad Stewart kind of went up to a more managerial role, is they're both on there. And so if people are bringing up stuff that is totally asinine, it gets debunked really quickly.
Is there any science behind, or maybe you don't know this, but any science behind APR restrictions or why they could or why they may not work?
Yeah, so Michigan NDA Michigan QDMA for a while, Eric Schnell at our helm, we were really pushing for APRs, and the argument for APRs is obviously it'll get deer to an older age class, and really shifting them from 1.5 years to 2.5, and then some slip through to 3 or 4. In my belief, it increases antlerless harvest. But with the CWD experiment, the confidence intervals were so wide that the DNR did. You guys remember that? Like with the CWD experiment, there were 5 counties that were looked at. Kent County and Newaygo County did not have APRs. Montcalm, Mecosta, and Ionia did. And don't quote me, but pre-APR, Mecosta, Montcalm, and Ionia were roughly at about a 0.8 doe per buck. And after the experiment, the numbers were 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. As logical people, you would think, well, antlerless harvest increased, which you would want to see and have in a diseased area. However, the algorithm and the confidence intervals that the statisticians used were so wide. The 1,000 increase in antlerless harvest didn't meet the confidence intervals. You'd have to harvest 10,000 more doe.
Define confidence intervals.
I'm not a statistician. Yeah. It's the margin of error. And so it was, they were so wide that even if a particular county had 1,000 more doe harvested during that experiment,
it wasn't going to put a blip on it.
It was going to put a blip on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing personally that I thought was flawed with that study. And that's why the DNR will say APRs do not increase antlerless
doe
harvest.
harvest.
Yes.
Okay, so it's safe to say APRs are good for increasing the age structure of antlered bucks.
Yes.
They just lack in the harvest of non-antlered deer.
I can't say that because I've lived it and witnessed. I've seen an increase in antlerless harvest. I'm saying the data from the study that the DNR conducted, they can't say it did it with any real margin because the confidence intervals were so big. Talking about APRs, if I was to say this right now, I think we should take away APRs in the Northwest 13. Oh, someone's keying my truck right now.
Someone's
He lives right down the road. He's running here.
But why would someone go out there and stab my tires? Because they don't want it taken away, because they see that there's a benefit to it. What I would love to have happened from that CWD experiment is the confidence intervals were not so large, and the DNR said, yep, antlerless harvest does increase with APRs. Now, conversely, during that experiment time, you had Newaygo County and Kent County. They were at 0.7 and 0.8 doe per buck. And after the 3-year study, they were still at 0.7 or 0.8 doe per buck. But Montcalm, Mecosta, and Ionia all got above 1. Well, a redneck would look at it and go, well, antlerless harvest increased. Not according to the statisticians, because the confidence interval was so large.
There was good deer in those
Hey,
counties.
son, you didn't grow this year, but Dad, I grew an inch. Well, you needed to grow a foot,
Yeah.
so you didn't grow.
You're not on
That's
the
the
basketball
confidence
team.
intervals.
Yeah. But the deer were ridiculous. The bucks were ridiculous on that farm that I had. 3 years of that was crazy.
It made a huge change.
They went away with it last year.
2 years.
2 years ago
yep.
already. Wow.
And that study was a Michigan NDA, and QDMA at the time was really behind that one. Eric Schnell and his leadership of that was the objective, is to try to prove that APRs would increase antlerless harvest.
Was there any surveys done in those areas as far as hunter satisfaction?
It increased.
That's I could say like
It
so
increased.
if it in theory they had it was in place for how many years?
3, I believe.
3 years.
seasons.
Okay, that's what I thought. So if it was in place for 3 years, it's a potentially maybe just long enough to start changing the mentality of the hunter and stuff like that. So I mean, in essence, those counties should continue still producing nicer deer than what they were.
Yes and no. I personally experienced it. Like it flipped the switch right away. Where I had a farm up there in Montcalm that, that very next year when it was the APRs were moved, there was a lot of 1.5-year-old deer killed all the way around me.
People are like, I'm free. Boom.
Yeah, I'm free. Like, well, and to the APR antlerless harvest increase concept, let's go back to the Northwest 13. So people who are anti-APR, they've made the argument of, well, we don't want bucks to get to a higher age class because they're going to have a higher chance of them perpetuating and carrying CWD, those things that you've heard. But then also, well, and you go, well, antlerless harvest increased when APRs were put into the Northwest 13. And someone will come back, yeah, but however, after 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years, the antlerless harvest started to plateau, to which people like us go, that's what it's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You got the herd back in check, and you've got it at carrying capacity, and that herd now is balanced. There's some people that are anti-APR, and they go, well, it won't constantly increase antlerless harvest. Of course it won't, because hunters know what they're doing. They're not going to over-harvest doe when they're starting to see better ratios. And so if we had APRs statewide, do I think antlerless harvest would increase? Yeah, I do think it would. Would it eventually plateau? Yeah. But how do we increase our antlerless harvest? It's a cultural shift, and we need to have more people harvest antlerless deer. Well, Mike Ketelaar, I don't need that meat. What are we doing? Well, we're working really hard with Hunters Feeding Michigan, Doe Patrol, Sportsmen Against Hunger, all of those entities trying to help increase that funding. If we had a robust venison donation program like Iowa does, where every single processor participates because they get the same amount of money from the government that you and me would be paying to do that, that's one of the things. And access.
I feel like you could fund that just by, like you said, taking away the hard copies of the rule book. Boom.
Well, there's over $1 million right there, and kudos to, Senator Cherry. He really helped get some money. I think it was $500,000 to get more reefer trailers for Hunters Feeding Michigan. And that's some of the advocacy and policy that you don't see happen at an NRC meeting, is behind the scenes, those sort of things. But there's some real macro things that we could do. I think increasing antlerless harvest, buck regulation would help, I really think, but a cultural shift's more important. Having people understand that you need to harvest 1/3 of your adult doe in a herd just to remain status quo. And that's one thing I talk about a lot with farmers who ask questions about antlerless harvest. And so you're telling me if I have 90 doe, I need to shoot 30 just to maintain status quo? Yes, sir. That blows people's minds.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
lot.
Especially when you don't have a place to donate them.
Well, okay. So this is a clean segue there. So one thing that came out of the DMI, the lower then that process, was a concept called the Hunt Michigan Collaborative. Hunt Michigan Collaborative is an umbrella organization. It became a new nonprofit. Michigan NDAs with it, DNR, MUCC, Pheasants Forever, Turkey Federation, all of the people that you would think would be there. And one thing that and the whole goal of it is to get more people involved in hunting. It's an R3 effort. But one thing that came out of it was the Hunt Michigan Collaborative NDA Farm Tour. So we have farms in Michigan in which we take out and we facilitate hunts for people, and they help farmers with their antlerless harvest. And we, Tom Weston and the guys of the DNR with Hunters Feeding Michigan, we coordinate with them. They bring their reefer trailers there. So this year, the Hunt Michigan Collaborative NDA Farm Tour, we had 160 hunters come out and get access to high-quality land. Blinds are set up. You've got certified hunt guides, I don't like the word guide, facilitators that kind of bring them to that spot, this and this. And that's just one thing that we're working on to help farmers, but then also get access to people that don't have high-quality land to hunt.
Is that how successful was that this year?
Very.
Is that like during a week period, or like how does that program work?
Some of them are management hunts in the summer. Some of them are during the normal season. We use the early doe season. We had a youth hunt in the summer, and so that's one thing. And we're looking to expand and have even more farms coming forward. And that's a really cool concept. The Hunt Michigan Collaborative, specifically the NDA Farm Tour, is us helping farmers.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I have to shoot 30 deer. They don't have the time to do that.
And then what do you do with 30 deer?
Then what do you do with 30 deer, you know? And so there are a lot of positive things that groups and individuals are doing. But, you know, going back is, as deer hunters, we're at each other's throats. We need to have conversations like this. We need to get involved. We need to see what we have in common and take our strengths and utilize them together. Otherwise, we're going to continue to be on a sinking ship. We're at each other's throats, and we have so much more in common. And
And I'll honestly think that's one thing that like I like when we talk back to APR restrictions, like I'm not like a super fan of, just because again, I know several people that just want to go hunting. They want to shoot their one buck and they're super excited about it. They don't need a 150-inch deer.
Yep.
Like the 6-point legitimately gets them excited, and I don't say it shouldn't be taken away from them, because at the end of the day, if it's better for the resource, then yes. But I think
and that's where I really do believe at this point in my own opinion, which is, you know, guy that can't even Google, so it's, you know, very limited, right? But like in my opinion, the one buck situation right now is one of the things that I'd say would rip off that Band-Aid, where now that guy can go shoot his spike horn. He can shoot his 6-point buck across the state, and I'm all for it, because now he's out of the woods and he has a doe tag. And he has a doe tag. So because now he's out of the woods long enough that he goes, I want to go back because I did kill something with archery equipment. I did, and now I'm going to go back out, because the only thing that I can do during deer camp this year is shoot a doe. And how many donkeys get laid down at deer camp because they already filled their buck tag, and the only reason they're going to go to deer camp this year is because they got to harvest a doe. And so now all of those little bucks that get shot at deer camp are all donkeys, and and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. To that point, that's exactly it. So you shoot a buck that you're happy with during bow season. You go to deer camp, you know, up in Baldwin, and you sit the first day, and you're like, well, I didn't shoot anything. I didn't want to booger up things for everybody else, but everyone shoots a couple deer and this, and then the second day you're going to. You can't.
I'm shooting the donkey the first day. I'm sorry.
And another thing that, you know, with talking about APRs is, I've heard the DNR say this, and they're not lying, and they'll go, well, why do we need APRs when our reporting already shows that 76 or 77% of bucks harvested meet 4 points on one side, which is a really challenging thing to.
Really?
Yeah.
76
or 77%, if my number is correct, already meet APR standards.
Wow.
Because there's a whole bunch of 1.5-year-olds and 2.5-year-olds that are shot. Help me understand that.
Because when you think about when you punch a buck tag,
you punch
left side,
you have to
right
punch
side,
it.
you put it in there.
Yeah.
You know, you report what that is, and that's what the data is telling us. Now, to your point,
what's the age then?
How many? We're not a state that does age. We don't know. They could be 1.5 years.
I thought we had an average age that they thought that they.
Oh, you could speculate that, but it's not.
That's all speculation.
It's all speculation. You can't. I mean, you look at some states. They give you a ruler on your tag, which was Iowa, and they want you to measure from here to there, and that's how their biologists get an assessment of age. But no, you can't definitively make the argument. But I would say that in areas of good habitat and good soil, that a lot of those are 1.5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And think about APRs. Really, the whole concept of an APR is to try to protect the majority of 1.5 years. QDM, NDA, is to protect the majority of 1.5 years. And so if you really look at it, I'll put some silver lining in all of this. Michigan is producing, and guys are harvesting better deer than they ever have.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we need to remind ourselves of that. Go back to when we were teenagers. Mm-hmm. That 80-inch 2-year-old kept you up at night. Mm-hmm. Now, where we're at, we're sitting here going, I just don't want that deer to come out again. I'm so annoyed by that deer. You know what I mean? Like something else. So improvements are happening. We're seeing people put down, and I think it's the commitment of time. I think habitat, I think food plots, hinge cutting, TSI, all those things, the technology, utilizing all that, and people understanding it's possible. When you see someone in Jackson County put down a 180, you're like, dang, it can happen. You know what I mean? But
I got to ask this. What, when and why did it go from QDMA to NDA?
all right, I knew this one was coming.
Did you?
Oh, I knew. Yeah, I knew. Yeah.
He was like, I said,
I was laying. I had to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night last night. And then from 2 to 3, I laid there. I'm like, all right, what kind of questions am I going to get? And I already have the answer. So I liken it to this, and I knew you're both three religious, so I liken it to this. It was simply so QDMA, Quality Deer Management Association, changed its name to the National Deer Association in and around COVID. In my experience, in my communication with National and everything I live and breathe, it was simply St. Mark's being changed to St. Matthew's. There was not tons of crazy change. The Bible is still the same. It's still QDM. Some people, you can make the argument that the word quality, I've heard this. I can't substantiate this, but the word quality had a negative connotation. It was elitist. It was not inclusive enough. And so the National Deer Association, United for Deer, was a more inclusive concept. I think it was a rebranding. There was a change in leadership. We started making some better structural decisions in terms of the organization. We're doing really well, extremely healthy, stronger than we've ever been, contrary to what some people are saying on social media. And that was the big change. That was the big change. They made some, Nick Pizzotta came in, our new CEO, and, during COVID, nonprofits weren't in a very good place. QDMA was not in a great place. And he came in and made some strategic decisions, and now we're healthy and we're sustainable. And that was the big thing that changed. And during that time, you've got some leaders that were frustrated because the economy was not great, and they decided to change the splits for fundraising. So like I'm a branch president locally, West Central Branch, Kent County, Nuevo County. I've got a fundraiser coming up February 28th, and we're raising money for our local efforts, but then also a percentage goes to national. Well, they increased the percentage going to national in and around COVID. Well, that coincided with the name change. And so some people got disgruntled about that. Oh, they're losing touch with grassroots and this. And I have not seen a change. I've only seen a change for better.
Yeah.
And that is as simple as it is. It was a name change and some strategic shifts in the way we do things. The mission's still the same. The pillars are still the same. The science is still the same.
I think one of the big thing about the NDA is, like, obviously you talked on, you don't want to, you have these pillars that you guys are trying to, that you work for. And one of them is advocating for the better health
policy. Yep.
Yes. But the other side is habitat. How do people like get involved with the NDA and the habitat? Because I look at habitat as just as, if not as important as rules and regulation changes, because without
100%.
the habitat, and I think a lot of people don't see this, without the habitat, you can't sustain anything.
Yep.
And so what we do, I'll speak at a local level. Obviously, the West Central Branch, we've hosted field days and tours of properties. We've had Mark Kenyon come in. We've had Jake Ellinger come in for guest speaking, talking about habitat and management and all those things. So those educational components are there. Just guys sitting around, when we're at an informal meeting having a few beers, just sharing information and things like that. We've adopted a few pieces of state game area over in Lowell, and we planted switchgrass and ninebark and pine trees and food plots and have a handicap accessible blind there. There's things we're doing, but I think really our role is delineating information. If you're on social media, it's funny because there are some people in Michigan that they don't quite understand NDA, or they have a bad taste in their mouth about it. But then they're also the ones constantly sharing articles produced by NDA about habitat and research and science. And it's like, okay.
And age this buck.
And all of these things. I'd liken to share that articles written by the NDA are probably the most shared articles on deer hunting social media sites.
I think it's something you guys are doing recently that I saw that probably no one else actually thinks this is cool but me. But the research
No one else.
Yeah.
No one else.
But the actual
They're still doing it, though.
The research that you guys are doing on the actual, how do you word this? The health of a deer's meat. How do you properly say that?
Yep.
With the
Protein levels in the deer's meat or whatever.
There's a smarter way to say
Yeah.
it, but you're studying the actual meat of the
Yeah.
deer. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's cool.
it's-
It's mind blowing that actually hasn't
Yeah,
done
and that's
before.
incredible. And one thing we do is we have our Deer Steward 1 class, Deer Steward 2, Deer Steward 3, different levels and programs within our organization. Some are in
Flunked out
person.
of deer school too, man.
You did, yeah. Man.
didn't make it.
Well, it's because you didn't know how to Google. Now you can use, dude. I bet you if you use ChatGPT right now, you would slay Deer Steward 1. You know
Well,
what I mean?
deer steward one, it's just because I was engaged, I had it, and then I just timed out. You know what I mean, I didn't get back to it.
Yeah, well, we can try to get you a code for that.
Thanks, bro.
It's through Auburn University. I'll take
Appreciate
care of it. Yeah, but yeah, definitely, and that's what's cool. That's what and like my why. I get asked my why is I want to be. I love deer hunting. Yeah. I love fellowship. I love improving land. I like supporting co-ops. I like taking out new hunters. I like venison donation. Everything that NDA stands for perfectly fits my why. And that's why I'm involved with the organization. And I love the science. I love the education. I love that we've got those partnerships with university and we're reputable and incredible. I don't have to be scared when someone asks me a question about one of our stances because it's backed. Now, other groups, well, why do you think we should ban crossbows or limit the amount of days crossbows are used? Because it's not really much to stand on.
Are you saying
there.
you're trying to ban crossbows?
No, there's
I was about to say,
no, there is some.
We're gonna get some clickbait
there's,
right there.
Yeah, no, I am not trying to ban crossbows. Currently there is some conversation coming out of Michigan bow hunters that they are trying to seek to limit crossbow use to only certain parts of the bow season.
So I didn't realize that was a thing until we started seeing all these comments rolling from the last podcast, and that kind of got brought up nonchalant in some like I didn't think that was actually something that people were.
Like this has always been my crazy idea. Is like, and it's just a crazy idea, but it's like I always love muzzleloader season in Colorado elk hunting where you can't use optics, and it's like I love the idea of a guy getting out there with a crossbow. Just I have to use iron sights on my bow, so like use iron sights. Just put it back to a pin and bow concept, and now we can't lob.
I thought about that.
Now we can't lob bolts 100 yards.
But then it goes back to our conversation of technology. It's the use of that technology. But no, like MUCC conventions coming up, I will be there, and there's some resolutions that'll be presented and voted on, and one of them is limiting the use of crossbows and only allowing it certain weeks during the bow season, with the argument of some data that has been drawn out that I don't see how the facts aren't adding up to me, but X amount of bucks are killed with crossbows. And so if we want to protect more bucks, we need to limit crossbow use. And that's the basic premise behind this.
Well, Michigan should
idea.
have that data for the last 2 years, shouldn't they? Because
Not necessarily
You have to
be-
click what did you kill it with when you check your deer in.
I don't think everyone gets asked that question when you do that. But even let's say that was
I
the
get
case.
asked how many hogs I saw.
Yeah, I'm tired of getting asked that one. But let's even say that's the case. Is in talking in my conversations with DNR personnel, they're not finding how this data is being calibrated. They don't see the math themselves, and that's concerning. You know what I mean? To me, no, I think it's ridiculous. Honestly, why would we want to limit the number one R3 tool that is out there? The other thing is how many antlerless deer are taking with crossbow during that point in time. You know, that data is not being presented and shared in this concept. So it just goes back to sometimes it feels like people are sitting on Santa's lap and it's what you want. You know what I mean? And data, statistics can say what you want them to say. That's the other thing that's scary. And I'm not sitting here toting that, you know, our data is so concrete and it's the Bible and this, but it's data is interpretive also. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
It's interpretive. You can get things to say what you want. But when that university and that university and that university and that specialist and that biologist are like, yeah, that's legit, it starts to become fact, you know, so. But yeah, the crossbow thing is getting thrown out a little bit. Michigan NDA does not support that. I want to give people the tools and opportunities to do what they enjoy, you know.
Yeah, I'm like going both ways on that because like selfishly, I want less people in the woods during bow season too.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
but
we
like,
get that, but
yeah.
but that's where I'm saying that some for whatever reason that idea of just putting because they make them for in muzzleloader hunting in New Mexico. The pins on there for ranges, you have the same setup that you have on a bow, where you have pins and an elevated in a loop, and you're looking at it, and those pins are different distances, and put that same setup on a crossbow. That's just
in that defense. Like my dad would not be able to hit a deer with that, and he crossbow.
That's always
is
been
getting him in the
always been
woods.
my argument with archery equipment, is that it requires practice, and that's where it's like it being a good steward of your willingness to go out there and practice. I have a crossbow. I've killed one deer with a crossbow.
He almost bought another crossbow last weekend.
I almost
Well,
did buy a pistol crossbow.
Yeah.
Have you seen these things?
Yeah, but you look
Wild.
at compound bows right now. The ones hanging up in there, they're super accurate. They're super fast, and I don't think that is the answer. Of that, I don't think limiting crossbow use is the answer to get what you're trying to get to protect more bucks or whatever the case is, and I don't know. I know a lot of guys that hunt with crossbow and they shoot big deer. So and then the other thing I would wonder, okay,
Well,
so
why don't they just use their vertical bow?
Time, practice. I mean, they're putting so much time and energy into habitat improvements and all the work and all this, and why do you spray down? Why do people use?
He doesn't even wear camo. So
why do people use ozonics? You know what I mean?
Well, no,
Why do people try to hunt on high pressure days versus low pressure days?
I think, Mike,
we're
your
trying to
point-
stack the deck as much in our favor.
I
as
think your
possible.
point to the fact that it doesn't change the outcome of the overarching herd development and management
Well said, yeah.
that we're looking for. So like the regulations would, like if we really backed it down to like the individual does have the impact, and I'm not going to do it just because I'm not this bold, but like if all hunters if they did print out Michigan 2 buck tags next year, if all the guys that really did care went and actually cut their second one up, it's going to eliminate that. The psychological effect is not going to go away until you destroy that.
It's huge.
I had my good friend, he died last year. He won alone. And the psychological effect of being on alone, if he was here, he would tell you flat out, like that TV show, he's like, that's not a reality TV show because I always had this button in my pocket. Yeah. So the psychological effect of always being able to go home messes with you more than just trying to survive.
Yeah, 100%. I did this a couple years ago just to test myself, and this is going to sound weird, but I like to shoot doe. This year,
fun.
This year I'm at 7. Last year was 10. The year before I was at 12, and I have fun because I like to practice.
You're not doing as good as you were in the past. What's going on?
because the herds I hunt are being managed now.
Oh,
and what
So
you
now we're
what
getting
you
balanced.
what
Now
you
we're
need
not-
to do is you can't just go out there and flippantly harvest antlerless deer. You need to make sure that the herd needs it and the
Yeah,
preparing
there's science
capacity.
behind your decision.
It's
it.
really interesting, yeah. And some of my
Look at
buddies
him.
are giving me crap too. Particularly in Ionia, our farm, we've only taken 2 doe off there, and we've been averaging 8 a year. There's a reason. I don't have that many mature doe anymore. You know why?
You shot him.
They're all gone. I've got young doe, 2-year-old doe that are 66% more likely to have
2.
button bucks. You know what I mean? It's really interesting.
look at that science.
Well, and people out there don't fact check me, but I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close.
I'm so
Don't
good at
Google.
Google.
I'm pretty yeah.
I'll Google.
Well, now that you learn about ChatGPT, we're in for it, you know. But and that's one thing. Like shooting doe. Let's talk about that real quick. Is that mature doe on the landscape is smarter than your 4-year-old.
Every time.
She is the one, and pursuing those deer can be extremely fun and rewarding. You get to most Michigan hunters who are really selective, they might shoot a buck every maybe 1 or 2 bucks every 3 or 4 years. Fair? You know what I mean? That are trying to shoot really nice deer. Imagine being a professional golfer and only playing 1 tournament a year. You're not going to excel. It gives you good practice. You work on your breathing, you work on your movements, you work on your confidence. I like to harvest those doe because it's it's another notch. It's another confidence builder. You know what I mean? So when that 5 seconds comes up that I've been waiting for 3 years on November 1st comes into fruition, I'm steady. I've got all this practice and experience behind me. I love shooting doe. I don't understand why some people don't.
Well,
everybody does.
Well,
Like,
we talked about it. We talked about this yesterday, though, briefly, because we were explaining to a gentleman who's a non-hunter, or he's becoming a hunter, the traditions behind the fact that, like, both of our dads would be like, yeah, you don't
taboo.
shoot doe.
It was bad.
It was like
You get kicked out of camp.
It was kind of like it was kind of like a moral issue that you were like really, you don't shoot the moms, like you're messed up.
Take it
You shot
a
the
step
mom?
further. It's almost like you hit a woman.
Yeah.
Like there was almost even that element.
That's
to
what
it.
I mean.
Yeah.
It's like you should,
like moral, but then also like a bravado. Like you stole candy from a baby. Like what's wrong with you? You're weird. You know.
Yeah. So, but we have seen that is starting to change, but it is still like I don't think
it's
my
starting
dad,
to change, but like I mean,
I don't know. My dad might beat me up. He does listen to the show, but I don't. He's not. I don't think he's ever killed a doe. He killed a cow elk once, but I don't think he's ever killed a doe.
I got my dad to do it. He's embraced it. It's
Yeah.
about
my dad
5
loves
years
it,
ago.
though.
He
likes
started.
it. My dad likes it too much.
And he likes it. But we have conversation. He's like, well, dude, what do you think? Because I hunt 3 different properties, 3 different herds, and he goes, well, obviously that one there. I'm like, we're shooting no doe. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. This other one, nope. 2 EHD properties. You know what I mean? And then Ionia, I'm like, I'm thinking my inventory, and I'm running 15 cuttybacks on 42 acres, and I've got a pretty good number. I know my deer, and I'm like, yeah, I think we maybe need to take 2 or 3 mature doe off this year.
Yeah.
That's it. But you also got to be cognizant, and I know both of you know this, when you're talking about antlerless management, and a lot of people, I like to do it late season for various reasons. There is no wrong or right time to do antlerless management, even though some people will say it as long as that antlerless deer is happening. But if you're worried about your habitat and the quality of your food plots and all that, take them early, whatever the case. But lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
a 98% chance that there's gonna be a $1 tag next year.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that.
You were talking about doe harvest and when's the right time, when's not.
Oh
the
yeah,
right
so
time.
late season. I tend to do most of mine late season, but you need to remember too, if you have the quality habitat on your block, you're a vacuum at that time.
Yeah.
So not everyone's hunt experience is equal. You could be holding 60 to 70% of those antlerless deer at that time of year. So that's another thing we need to think about as stewards, and that's why I love co-ops. I love landowners cooperating, like-mindedness, having goals, having those conversations, because then you know what the farm next to you is doing. You know what bucks they harvested, how many doe. You have that conversation.
That's what I see happening much better in the state of Michigan. Before, like, let's say when cameras became like new, it was like, I'm not showing. Like, I fall victim to this a lot because my dad is very good with the neighbors, very open with the neighbors. They're sharing pictures back and forth. And I'm constantly telling them, do not, like Dave this year. I kept telling him, do not.
You got to watch our episode on Dave.
Yeah.
It was a deer that I was chasing, and I was very concerned. I was excited about him.
Yeah.
But I kept telling my
As
dad,
you
like,
should.
don't share that picture with the neighbors. He's like, I already did. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But you should, because if openly you share that picture with a neighbor, they're like, wow, this deer's out. I'm not going to shoot this deer because I know this deer is literally right there. And it was literally right next to them.
Yeah. I've witnessed this, leading several co-ops, is when you do bridge that conversation with a couple guys that hunt that farm next to you, and we're all feeling each other out. You know what I mean? How much am I going to devote?
It's going to take
this?
a week for me to really tell you the truth.
Yeah, we're going to have open and direct communication. Yeah, until I trust you. You know
Yes.
But what I've learned is when you start to share those, and this was my experience with these gentlemen on the side of us, those are all pictures here. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're no longer thinking about 90-inch 2-year-olds. They're going, well, wait, those deer are here? Yeah. And so really, I think sharing buck pictures could even jump you up 20 to 30 inches or an age class in some instances of people realizing that. Down in Leeson, Iowa, we had a 6-year-old and 23 points. I'm not making this up. 3 drop tines, 5 brow tines.
He made the super APR tag.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Well, didn't barely, but we knew this deer was down there. We saw him last year. He's probably 220. I'm not lying. I'll show you a picture after this. And we also had some mature 160s and stuff. And my buddy John, who in the lease with, he's like, I'm only shooting that deer. I'm only shooting that deer. Well, if you know the top of the perimeter, there's a psychology to it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I know in Ionia there's a 160 and I had no idea, I might not shoot the 135-inch 4-year-old that year. You know what I mean? There's a lot of psychology to it. You don't know unless you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome.
But that deer, when we were driving down there for gun season, we learned that the neighbor shot him a couple days before during bow.
Because you shared the picture with him.
I'm pretty sure that neighbor knew about that deer.
No, he knew about
that was a well-known deer.
He knew about that deer.
That's wild. That's exciting.
Now, that neighbor did not want anyone else in the area to know. We actually have one of his sheds from the year before. And this is interesting when you get to that of how possessive we are.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dave's your buck. And I used to feel the same way, and I still am. Like, there was someone, well, you know that Seek One concept?
Oh, yeah.
These guys, yeah. So a Seek One guy found out that we had some good deer, and he went in and he actually killed a buck called Mike's 10. That's what the co-op named the deer, Mike's 10. Why? Because Mike passed me when he was 1, 2, 3, all on film. And then he blew up, and he was harvested at 4. And I had to reflect on that and be like, why did we call it Mike's 10? We don't own that resource.
What did Lee call him?
Huh?
What did
Concept.
Not a sequence.
No, not the concept.
Oh, I thought you said he
The
literally,
concept.
so
The
someone
concept.
literally moved
Someone
in
on
and killed your
2
deer.
acres
Looked in, found your deer.
found out
Mike's
that
10.
we were growing quality deer and got on the edges. You know the concept, which is nothing wrong with. But
Yeah.
that possessive thing of like, I look back now, I was like, why did we call it Mike's? You know what I mean? It could have been the F-150's deer. You know what I mean? It could be, and you learn this through EHD. Having EHD happen to us in Ada, having a 97% herd loss, and when you're walking around there in our co-op, we find 25 rack bucks dead.
Yeah.
It puts things into perspective. I'll take it from a religious, God standpoint is we don't know. We're not guaranteed tomorrow.
No.
We don't know. When you go into the season going, dude, we have 4 shooters this year. And then on September 10th,
They're all dead.
everything's dead. It really puts things into perspective.
I never thought about that because I've never been a part
Witnessing,
of like
being a part of EHD
EHD.
it's humbling.
Yeah.
It's
well,
humbling.
and I think it back to your point of the Lord getting
Oh, he
involved.
knew.
He got involved. He gets involved right from the person's mental perspective, and then also from the herd's perspective. The herd, like you were saying, your doe numbers were so out of control and all that kind of stuff, and then just massive deer loss, and now we're rebuilding. And the nice thing, from a habitat standpoint and a management standpoint, you have the ability to manage you have a fighting chance versus having to go back and destroy and to harvest all those does. So
Yeah, we have 3 co-ops that all touch in the Ada area, and pre-EHD, we had like 167 doe that we harvested in like a 7-mile area. Like we were hammering them, and we couldn't manage our way out of it just because it's a vacuum. That little area is such a vacuum. And I remember having a conversation with Kip Adams, and I'm like, "What do we do?" And he goes, "I hate to tell it, but you need
EHD.
And what you hear the stories about EHD, we're excited because we had the issue of so many deer on the landscape. We couldn't increase the nutrition. It was hard to manage ourselves out of all the doe that we had. We've had 4 and 5-year-olds that we harvested that go 100 inches. They weren't able to meet their potential.
The stress levels. Yeah.
And so now I'm excited to see us getting deer to 4 and having them get
giants.
Be 140 class or more, which we never had before.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
One quick, you can just give me a very quick answer on this. I know we've been running at this for a while. One thing that we've discussed about with other people is something that would help the deer herd is changing the season dates.
I love that you brought that up. It is something I think I'll just look at it from a DAT team lens. We're running down to the clock. I don't think we're going to come to any conclusion as a team of shifting dates or limiting dates. When we did have Mike Tonkovich on, the old biologist and DNR for Ohio, it was a resounding message that he shared with all of us: less is more. Less is more. If you were to ask myself, and I'll just throw Jordan Hoover in the mix, the UP DAT chair, we would love to see, and him and I had a conversation the other day with some NRC members, just personally. I wasn't representing the DAT or anything like that, but I think guns should start later. We need to get it out of the peak of the rut. I think that we need to limit the amount of days. Most of the deer are harvested in the first 2 days anyway. Don't give me that. I want people harvesting antlerless deer sooner. You know what I mean? That's my if I had a magic wand. So I think it should be the third week of November. Let's do 9 days. Let's give it a week off. This is my personal thing. Let's
bring back the muzzleloaders.
5 days. I don't have a personal. I don't care if it's muzzleloader or not.
I just think it's cool.
It's cool, but cool. Yeah, I think selfishly, I get tired of cleaning my Thompson Center, and I like smacking does with my 450 with my new suppressor. So
fair. I see it.
Yeah, and I'm admitting to everyone, my reason for that is extremely selfish.
Yeah,
I just don't want to mess with the muzzleloader.
And I selfishly
the muzzleloader goes the same distance as my 450, it's all of that, but
not the new Gunworks 450.
But those are things that we haven't had the time to really dig into. It would not shock me at all in 2027 in our conversations if we really look at that. But with anything in life, like if you're trying to mentor someone to have a deeper relationship with Christ, it needs to be a nudge factor. You're not just going to totally take them and throw them into a full baptism. You need to nudge factor things. And I think with deer and deer hunting in our traditions, we need to do the same thing. I know some of us want to come in with shock and awe and just put the hammer down and make all these changes at once. But if we do, let's say, for example, we go to 1 buck and we move the gun opener back and we only have it be 9 days. And then we do a week off, and then we go to a muzzleloader that's 5 days. And then all of a sudden, we got all this data. We can't conclusively say or definitively say, was it 1 buck that made the needle move? Was it moving the gun opener out of the rut? What was it? And I hate to sound like that nerd, but there is some validity to understanding the importance of knowing what impacted what. And if you make 4 or 5 macro changes at once, we're never going to be able to look back and diagnose what actually made this change. And I hate saying that, but that's logic.
I think it totally makes total sense.
I want drastic, crazy changes. Mm-hmm. But I understand, how are we going to learn what lever did what?
Yep. My only concern with that, I would say my rebuttal to that is that if we're looking at the entire solution and we're trying to correct things in its entirety, we can't necessarily say one of those levers is actually going to fix it. And so when one of them doesn't move the needle, when you painted the picture earlier of this is how we measure the doe kill off in these 3 counties, mm-hmm. and this doesn't move the needle far enough, so this didn't work. And it's like, well, it was really the combination of moving the gun season mm-hmm. and the 1 buck that is really what's going to get it done.
Yeah, and totally agree. I'm really happy that you brought that up, because it's not going to be one thing or the other. And I don't like the answer. I think mm-hmm. right now there's some conservatancy of not doing so many changes at once so we can pinpoint what it was. But then I like what you're saying. Not one thing's not going to do it. One thing I've learned through the DMI and the DAT and my science and research and talking to people is the ills that Michigan is facing. It is a 9, 10, 11 spoke wheel. there are 9, 10, 11 levers that need to be pulled.
Yeah.
And that's one thing all of us members have gleaned from our work together is there's not going to be one magic bullet. It is going to take several pieces moving in conjunction, and we don't know exactly what those pieces are. And your point was brilliant. So if we do one thing and, it didn't do it enough, well, then that's broke? Not necessarily. We need to couple it with something else.
Yeah.
Well, the doctor gives you an antibiotic. Well, it didn't get rid of it. Well, maybe you need an antibiotic and this.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, that's one of the things that I've learned over the years on like habitat management is that so many guys, their son watches a YouTube video on hinge cutting, and so then they go out there and they hinge cut all weekend long. The dad's all mad because they're messing with their timber value and all that kind of stuff, and then their little hinge cut pocket didn't do anything, and they spent 3 weekends doing it, and this habitat work is not worth doing. And so they throw the baby out with the bathwater, and they don't do any of it. And you see it in the state of Michigan, too. We make one little change, and, it didn't work, so now we extend gun season. What? Where you know, and so that's one of my concerns with it. It's like I rather foundationally, let's go at the foundational level, start over, and then rebuild. Like you're saying with EHD, it came through. Now foundationally, we can start over and we can build off of the new foundation. That's my hopes for the state.
No,
of Michigan.
the clean slate, and so I like that perspective of and I don't like the answer I gave of we need to be able to analyze certain things. If I can wave a magic wand, I'm throwing a grenade. I'm throwing a grenade because I also see. I want to throw a grenade. I see that we are the laughing stock. And I don't care about the opinion of what people think in other states. I don't like the herd being the laughing stock. There's a difference between hunters and our management and our but it's the herd that's the laughing stock. And when we've been privileged to hunt other states, and it's not about pursuing more antlers or inches or age, but when you hunt a well-balanced herd,
so much fun.
It's so much fun. The rut is intense.
Well, crazy. The deer, you can actually rattle antlers.
You can rattle, you can grunt, you can snort wheeze. The rut is intense. It's an intense rut.
Just their daily interaction with a deer is like so much different than it is in Michigan.
There's so much positive to it. So
that's an awesome way to end it because it is a positive thing, and it's not about being selfish. It's not about going out there and shooting bigger deer. It's about the integrity of managing the herd and doing what you guys are doing. So from us at Everland, we really appreciate, Mike, you volunteering, taking all your time, doing what you're doing, and educating people as best as you possibly can. So thank you.
And I really appreciate that, and I love what you said. The best that I possibly can. I'm a flawed individual, just like you guys are. You know what I mean?
I'm
flawed.
Perfect, Mike. Look at how good I Google.
Now with your Googling skills,
but
no, and that's the thing. It's not. I'm a volunteer. I try my best. My team does the same thing. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, but every day we wake up and we try to fight the good fight, and we try to evolve and educate and learn ourselves. And when mistakes are made, you own them and you move on, you know, and that's just me being a follower of Christ. So that's the important thing. And if you're not evolving, you're stagnant and you're not growing. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the time today. And this was an awesome conversation. So,
if you want to end it on if I feel like we should give a quick plug if anybody wants to or is interested in the NDA. And sorry, I forgot the other organization.
Hunt Michigan Collaborative.
Hunt Michigan Collaborative. How do you get involved with that?
Yeah, it's Hunt Michigan Collaborative. It's huntmichigancollaborative.com. We've got a website there. Michigan NDA, we're launching a website. Anna Minnerling's helping us with that. That's going to be coming out. But just find us on Facebook, Michigan NDA.
You guys don't have a website?
The state. The National Deer Association has a website that is incredible.
So the Michigan.
No,
NDA.
Michigan. We're going to be the first state that has our own website, and it's launching. We're going to have videos, all kinds of cool stuff on that. But just look us up on social media for Michigan NDA and reach out. And usually, if you get on there, I've posted my name and number multiple times because I think it's really funny. I'm pretty going to exposure and being out there. I put, hey, if you have any questions or concerns about Michigan NDA or anything like that, Mike Ketelaar, call me. And then very few people do, but then you see them
it's much
back in the corner.
It's
much easier to type. Yeah. So
yeah, sure.
Open and transparent. Would love to have conversations. And thanks again, gentlemen. This was really enjoyable.
Awesome. Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Hey guys, we greatly appreciate you listening to the Everland Outdoors podcast and these conversations that help do make a change. Again, simple conversations can go a long ways, but there's always action that needs to be taken further. So Everland Outdoors is everything about the land, everything land. So we're here, we're happy to support in any way we can. If you're interested in getting a map made of your property, simply go to everlandoutdoors.com. We'll gladly, what we do is we create property maps with a drone. So we take thousands of images, stitch them together to create the highest detailed map possible of your property. So if you're interested in a map, if you want to know more on how to get involved in Michigan, please reach out to everlandoutdoors.com as well. We'll be happy to reach out and get you connected. We greatly appreciate the support. Thank you for listening. There's a lot more conversations to be had, and we're looking forward to sharing with those you guys. So stay warm, stay safe. God bless.